All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this. Well, so far this year, we've had 5 now, including Odyssey and Spider-Man, 5 films have joined the $1 billion club. And one of those films, of course, is Michael. Now, the big question been, not many people know that that's what Michael Jackson looks like. What the big question has been, of course, we know there was going to be a second part. They made the decision early in the project that instead of just one movie, it was going to be 2. They had already started shooting the movie when they decided to do that. Now, how were they going to do it? We weren't really sure. Then we saw Michael. We saw where they cut that movie off. When are we going to get the second one? Well, now, according to Deadline, we've actually got some information on when Michael 2 will start shooting and when they're aiming to have it in theaters. And it's actually sooner than you might think, as Deadline is reporting the following. Lionsgate Motion Picture Chairman Adam Fogelson. By the way, I've met Adam a number of times. Very cool guy. And, there are some studio heads, guys in the industry who truly, I've met a bunch of them. They truly are movie fans. Adam Fogelson at Lionsgate is a straight up frickin' movie nerd. And I mean that in the best way possible. Like, he is a legit bona fide tattoo wearing movie geek. He absolutely loves movies, and it's very cool. It's a very, very easy guy to cheer for, and thus I often cheer for Lionsgate. Anyway, getting back to it. Lionsgate Motion Picture Group Chairman Adam Fogelson gave an update on the highly anticipated sequel to the studio's Michael Jackson biopic, Michael, telling analysts on a Q1 call that we are targeting a production start towards the end of the year or early next year. As far as when we'll see the sequel to Lionsgate's highest grossing $1 billion plus movie, Fogelson shared, I think that end of calendar 2027 and the first half of calendar 2028 would be the current thought of roughly where the movie would go. Fogelson couched these statements by emphasizing we're not ready to announce everything at the moment. All right. So one of the things two things we now know, they are aiming to start shooting Michael 2. Not that it's going to be called Michael 2. I don't know what they're going to call it. They're aiming to start shooting this year. Now, it might get pushed into a little bit into early 2027. We'll see. But they're targeting 2 things. They're targeting getting cameras rolling this year, and they're targeting getting this thing in theaters next year, which is not all that far away, like end of 2027. Obviously, them hitting that goal will depend on how fast they can get the movie shooting. Now, they don't have an entire movie to shoot because, as Adam also said in this interview, they've already shot a bunch of stuff that's going to be in movie 2.
Right.
Because remember, the first movie was just going to be one big movie. And by the time they had decided to make it 2 individual films, they had already shot a lot of the stuff that would be a part of movie 2. So that's encouraging. That means it won't take as long as, say, a traditional movie would take to start shooting and get it into theaters. How fast they can turn it around, I'm not really sure. Rob, one of the interesting things that is missing from this article, though, that I've noticed, is there's no mention of the great Antoine Fuqua about whether or not Antoine's going to come.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I think that was very conspicuous by its absence. Of course, Antoine, who I think is a remarkable director. He, of course, did the first Michael. No mention about whether or not he's going to be back for the second one. I think you're here. I've kind of heard that he might not come back to do the second one. So maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Not really sure. Even if he doesn't, a lot of the stuff he's directed was going to be in the second one anyway.
Yeah, it's included in there.
I wonder if here's a random off the rabbit trail question. If you shot a bunch of stuff and directed a bunch of scenes that then get put into a different movie, do you, by DGA rules, do you get partial directing credit for the movie? I don't know.
That's a very good question. I don't know
because if you think about, I'm thinking about like Superman 2 when they did the Donner cut. Donner wasn't really mentioned in the first, right? He wasn't in the credits of the first iteration of Superman 2. I know a lot of time has changed, so rules probably have changed since 19 whatever that was, but
there's probably a percentage of the movie you need to have directed to maybe. Anyway, that's another question for another time. Anyway, Rob, obviously, Michael is a $1 billion film. We've only had 5 this year, and we'll probably end up only with 6, possibly 7. Michael got to that landmark. So obviously a lot of eyes on when this thing's going to come back. Do you think they can get this thing spun up by the end of this year? And what would you think about them hitting a 2027 deadline? And do you think the sequel can be as big as the $1 billion original? What do you think?
Well, one, I do think they could get this movie up and running because they were already deep into production on whatever this movie is going to be eventually. So if you've got, but this, John, is assuming that Antoine Fuqua would come back to direct, and that Jafar Jackson would come back and play Michael.
Well, he's under contract.
Well, Jafar, he's
no, I know. I'm just kidding, but I think that and he's incredible. I do think this could happen. I don't know necessarily if it will, because I think ultimately the second half of this story has to deal with some things that might make it difficult from a scripting standpoint, but I would assume maybe those problems have been alleviated. But anyway, I'm gonna be optimistic about it. I mean, a movie that was this successful, and everybody still obviously is still compelled by the Michael Jackson story. There's still a lot more to tell about the good stuff in his life, in addition to it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the dark turn that the story takes. But I'd still be interested in seeing it either way. I think that I like Michael a lot more than I thought I was going to, and it has a lot of rewatchability. And look, is it the most deep and insightful biopic ever made? No, but it's certainly one of the most toe tapping, and so I think there's something to be said for that. Will they be able to finish this movie and get it done by the end of 2027? I think that's possible if they can get the cameras rolling by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And they probably already, because they were shooting that stuff before, had a lot of the initial pre-production done. If they can put the team back together, maybe they can work it out. And I think they certainly can throw enough money at it. But it'd be interesting to see, like this question being asked now, who does take over? I mean, those are all good names, but if somebody takes over, do they scrap what's already been used, like you brought up, or not? I think probably not. You'd want to use as much as you've already shot, because why wouldn't you?
Baz Luhrmann takes over for part 2. I'm just throwing a wild name out there.
I hear Gareth Edwards is available.
Gareth Edwards steps in to direct Michael too. Listen, I will admit, I didn't like Michael as much as I was hoping I would. Like, I enjoyed it. How can you not watch that movie and dance in your seat and tap your foot? Like, I was doing that the whole movie. I was like shaking in my seat. But I given the fact of, like, it's Michael Jackson and it was being directed by one of my favorite directors, Antoine Fuqua, I was expecting a better overall movie, not just a celebratory music retrospective. But I still enjoyed it. I still liked it. I wonder how much the sequel will make, because obviously there were a bunch of people who didn't end up liking Michael, but the people who did like Michael seemed to really love Michael. So it's going to be really interesting how they do. As far as the darker turn, I'm going to give a prediction right now. I don't think they're going to go down that path at all. I mean, we know that they all of a sudden had to stop production on the movie because they were filming stuff that the Michael Jackson estate failed to let the studio know they weren't allowed to shoot, and that had to do with some of the court proceedings and everything. So I'm wondering if they just might, especially considering how sanitized the first Michael was, I have a feeling they're not going to go down that darker turn, which I think would be very interesting if they did, but I don't think they're going to.
This first movie covered his accident, right, on the Pepsi commercial with the fire.
Yes. Yeah.
That had a lot to do with his drug addiction later on to pain medication. Yep. So they could still touch on that stuff. How do you just completely ignore all of that? That would be really weird to me.
Yeah, there might be a few mentions or references. I just got a feeling, and I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But I have a feeling they're going to try to sidestep that as much as possible. But especially given how the first Michael went. But anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? They are targeting, at least, they're not sure they can make it, but they're targeting like the end of next year, which is only like 18 months away before we get Michael 2. Do you think they can get there? Are you looking forward to the second Michael movie? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Mars Men. Guys, you know that one of the frustrating things about getting older is realizing that the things that used to come naturally suddenly require a lot more effort. You wake up tired, workouts feel harder, recovery takes longer, and by the middle of the afternoon, your energy and focus can completely disappear. And that's where Mars Men comes in. Mars Men is designed to support healthy testosterone levels, natural energy, and stamina using 8 clinically dosed ingredients. There are absolutely no synthetics or needles, and it's made in the USA and third-party tested. Some men report steadier energy, stronger workouts, and better recovery, and it comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. For a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you.